I really wish we, like, as a society, but especially in the black community, like, this whole little page is gonna be basically talking about more in the point of like POV of like black community and as a black person. But I feel like we definitely need to be more like educated and aware of like different DSM diagnoses, or even if you're not diagnosed, but like just different. I don't even know what you call them because I wouldn't call it like an illness, but like obviously like OCD, ADHD, autism, all of that. And because I feel like I'm definitely on the spectrum, but I'm just undiagnosed. And I probably would never get a diagnosis because I'm not paying that much money to get one. But I also feel like a lot of black people, like try to like discredit people who either self-diagnose or even if they do have a diagnosis. I feel a lot of people discredit it and be like, you ain't got no autism, you ain't got no ADHD, you ain't got no OCD, like it's made up from these white people, da da da. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more like people, like black people who like older black people who are undiagnosed. Like I seen a video from like what's her name? I think Christina Brown TikTok, and how she said like how people be having like bad nerves, or and like not older people like I got bad nerves, or they have certain like freaking stems that they do. It's like, but then they try to say like, oh, you don't have autism, when it's like they be having autism or like ADHD. And I feel like they don't want to admit it. And then if they admit it for other people, they would have to admit it for themselves. And I don't understand why it's like a bad thing. Because I don't think so. I actually feel like I'm undiagnosed. And I feel like if I had one, I feel like it would make way more sense for a lot of stuff that I do. It would make a lot more sense as to like why I do that. Like to have something like named like for it, like attached to it. And I feel like we definitely, I don't know. And I feel like it's also referring back to like the Amanda Seals, even though she said she technically lied because she said she was diagnosed, and then she said she said she was diagnosed, and then she said she was self-diagnosed. And I feel like I don't know why she lied about that. Just because I don't think it's a bad thing to be. I don't think it's a bad thing to be undiagnosed. I mean, like undiagnosed, like clinically, but you still feel like that. Because it's a lot of people that I've seen that like have or say that they have. Why did I just do that? Say that they have like autism and they're not. And then they self-diagnose. But I feel like a lot of people who self-diagnose, they don't just diagnose based off of like one little thing. Obviously, people I feel like who self-diagnose go into like research, talking to people, reading books, reading articles. You know, like I feel like they read and go through to kind of come to that conclusion. I don't think it's just, oh, I do this, so I'm autistic. No, because it's a lot of stuff that happens that, or that you can have and not be autistic. Like sensory issues, like a lot of people can have those without being autistic. But if you take the test, I feel like a lot of people don't take the test. If you go on the test, it's like very particular things that I'm like, that autistic people do, that I'm like, I don't think anybody who don't relate to those things would say that they're autistic, because like anybody that's neurotypical, like I feel like you would see the things and be like, yeah, I don't do this, and like it would be completely cut off. So I don't think it's just anybody diagnosing themselves with autism, like a lot of people say. Like, but I'm like all over the place with this conversation. But then back with like Amanda Seals, where she kind of lied. I don't know why she lied, because I don't think it's a bad thing to be self-diagnosed if you just like research it and looked it up. Just because a lot of people do get misdiagnosed, or it does cost money, you know, like a lot more money. I don't know. It depends on where you're from, I guess. And hi, it's a doggy. And I feel like Yeah, but I don't know why she lied about that. Like, I feel like it's not that deep. But also, I don't think she should have like came out and said that she lied about it, because that looks kind of crazy. Like, you went up there, told him you was clinically diagnosed like 40 some days ago, and then you come back on the internet and say, "Oh, I'm not paying for that." We'll do it. I don't know why she did that, but I don't think it's a bad thing if she is like self-diagnosed or whatever. But yeah, I think that part was dumb because it makes her look like invalid or like she's a liar. And I don't think she is. I just think, I don't know, maybe I feel like she said that because people wouldn't take her serious. That's why I don't know why she came back and said she wasn't. But anyways, back to that point where people were saying like, oh, she just using autism as an excuse, da da da. And I'm like, no, it actually would make sense if she is autistic, only because I feel like when you're autistic, you're more likely to be like unlikable. Like, people don't want to work with you, or they complain about everything that you do because obviously you're different. You have to operate different. And it would make sense, like, on why people have these like certain type of opinions about her. Not saying like somebody can't be like non-autistic and not be likable or liked by the public, but I also feel like it's easier when you're autistic because it's these clear differences, like in the way you operate mentally or the way you socialize, that non-autistic people would not understand. And that's why I feel like I'm undiagnosed, because it's certain stuff that I'm like, the way my brain works, like a regular normal person. I've said this all the time where I'm like, I don't feel like I'm normal, even though I know normal is like subjective. But I've literally said that, and I'm like, so many times before about myself, whereas like the way my brain works is like to other people that should do, like, if I explain it the way exactly the way my brain works in certain instances, especially in like social interactions or even just like other like day-to-day stuff that I like have to do, otherwise it kind of like throws me off. But other people would not understand, where they like, to them it probably would look like, if I explain it, I feel like to them they'll probably be like, you have free will, like you can kind of do it, and I'm grown, like I can just do what I want. But like, I don't know the way my brain works. My brain does not work like that. Like, yes, I can do whatever I want, but at the same time my brain doesn't want to do whatever it wants. Like, I don't know, it's like I have to do this and that. Like, it's like different stuff that I feel like other people's brain does not operate like that. Like, because it low-key feel like I'm like trapped in a prison, but not like in a bad way, but like it low-key feels like somebody else is like controlling me in a way sometimes, like because some stuff is like not necessarily how I want to do it, but like I do it like that because otherwise it's gonna like throw me off. I don't know. Anyways, my point was really just to talk about like how people need to like take that stuff more serious and like look at it within their kids, because I feel like that's also why a lot of kids are treated the way that they're treated, is because they're undiagnosed. So that's why a lot of times people call these kids bad or call certain kids like troublemakers and da da da. And I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I just think that they are undiagnosed. Like, I think they have a diagnosis. Like, not all of kids, like some kids are just kids. Like, they're also just kids. But I think some kids, they get punished for certain, like how they are and like certain stuff they do, when in reality I think it's a lot of them are just undiagnosed. Like, and parents think beating them out of it, like they can beat them out of it, and it's just like, no, like you're just making it worse for them as they get older, having to like deal with it and like deal with how they are, like. But yeah, it really was like just a rant about what like triggered my thoughts was the Amanda Seales thing. And I feel like how people was talking about autism, like, or even other people, like hearing the conversation, how people talk about like people who self-diagnose and why they do that. Like, even though even if you get a diagnosis, sometimes they misdiagnose you, especially as a black person. Like, or I've literally heard people who say they got diagnosis and like, because I don't know who diagnoses them, because I don't think it's a regular doctor. I don't know if it's a psychiatrist, I don't know. But they literally tell them, like I've heard people say a lot that the doctor would tell them they don't have autism because they're too pretty or they're too normal, like, or they're not weird or like they don't look autism, like you know, even though it's a spectrum. But yeah, I definitely feel like, yeah, we definitely gotta like start talking about it more and like actually having conversations so people can look out for what to look for in their kids or even in themselves. Like, so people can actually get the resources that they need or being able to just feel like themselves on a regular day basis. But yeah.